The day the aliens came to Earth was sunny in some places and rainy in others, just like any normal Tuesday. Commander Alan Wright stood on the landing pad at Houston Spaceport, watching the strange ship descend from the clouds. It didn't look like anything humans had built. It was smooth and shiny with no visible engines, and it made almost no sound as it landed. Alan adjusted his uniform and stood tall. As the leader of Earth's first contact team, he had trained for this moment for years, but now that it was here, his mouth felt dry. Behind him stood 6 soldiers and 4 scientists, all chosen for their calm under pressure. The ship's door opened with a soft hiss. A ramp extended to the ground. For a moment, nothing happened. Then 3 figures appeared. They walked slowly, carefully as if each step took great effort. Alan blinked several times. The aliens were tall and thin, with blue skin that seemed almost transparent. They had forearms each and large eyes that blinked rapidly in the sunlight. They wore what looked like special suits, probably to help them breathe Earth's air. "Welcome to Earth," Alan said, raising his empty hands to show he meant no harm. The tallest alien stepped forward. A small device on its chest lit up. "We are representatives of the Galactic Council," said a flat mechanical voice. "I am Ambassador Zorith. We come in peace, and with great caution." The aliens looked nervous. One of them seemed to sway in the light breeze as if it might fall over. "Are you all right?" asked Dr. Linda Carson, the team's medical expert. "Do you need assistance?" Ambassador Zorith's large eyes blinked rapidly. "Your gravity is difficult for us. Your air is very thick. Your sun is very bright." The translator paused. "Your world is what we call a Class 12 death world." Alan and Linda exchanged looks. "Death world?" Alan asked. "Yes. Most intelligent life forms in our galaxy evolved on worlds with much less gravity, thinner air, and weaker suns. Your planet would kill most of us quickly without protection." This was not what anyone had expected. In movies, aliens were always stronger than humans, not weaker. "Please, can we continue this inside?" asked another alien, its voice trembling through the translator. "This environment is very stressful for our bodies." 20 minutes later, they sat in a conference room. The air conditioning had been turned up high, and the lights dimmed to make the aliens more comfortable. Even so, they still looked tense in their protective suits. "We have monitored your world for some time," explained Ambassador Zorith. "We avoided contact because species from death worlds often have aggressive tendencies." "You were afraid of us," said Alan, understanding now. "With reason," said Zorith. "Your bodies are incredibly strong by our standards. Your bones would be considered unnaturally dense. Your muscles would seem unnaturally powerful. Your ability to endure pain, radiation, and physical stress exceeds most council species by several factors." Linda leaned forward. "But that's just how we evolved to survive on Earth. It doesn't make us monsters." "Perhaps not," said Zorith, "but it makes you dangerous. However, we have come because the Council has voted to offer Earth provisional membership." Alan felt hopeful. "That's wonderful news. We've dreamed of joining a galactic community." "There are conditions," Zorith continued. "The most important being that humans must undergo genetic modification to make your species less physically robust, for the safety of all." The room went silent. Finally, Alan spoke. "You want us to make ourselves weaker? To change what we are?" "Is for mutual safety and comfort," said Zorith. "Your current form would not be welcome in most council spaces. You would break things accidentally. You might harm others without meaning to." Dr. Edward Bailey, the team's biologist, spoke up. "And if we refuse this modification?" The alien's eyes blinked slowly. "Then Earth would remain under quarantine. No travel to council worlds would be permitted. Your system would be marked as a biological hazard zone." Alan stood up. "Ambassador, we need time to discuss this with our world leaders. This isn't a decision a small team can make." "Of course," said Zorith. "We will remain in orbit and await your response. Take no more than 30 Earth days." After the aliens returned to their ship, An emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council was called. On screens around the world, people watched as Secretary General Maria Lopez addressed the global audience. Today we have learned that we are not alone, but we have also learned that we are different. The Galactic Council sees our strength as a threat. They ask us to change what makes us human to join their community. Alan sat in the back of the room, listening as world leaders argued. Some wanted to accept the Council's terms, eager to gain access to advanced alien technology. Others refused to even consider changing humanity's fundamental nature. During a break, Alan stepped outside for fresh air. His phone buzzed with a message from his old friend, Dr. Samantha Lee at NASA. Need to talk ASAP. Found something in the alien transmission data. They met an hour later in a quiet corner of the building cafeteria. They're hiding something, Samantha said, her voice low. I analyzed the background radiation from their transmission. There are signs of recent large-scale energy weapons discharge in their home systems. Alan frowned. You think they're at war? I think they're losing a war, Samantha replied. And I think they came to the scary Deathworlders because they need help, but they're too proud or too afraid to admit it. That night, as Alan lay awake in his hotel room, he thought about what it meant to be a human from Earth. A Deathworlder. Their strength, endurance, and adaptability had helped humans survive and thrive on a planet that would apparently kill most aliens. Should they give that up to join the stars? His phone rang. It was Secretary General Lopez. Commander Wright, I'm forming a special committee to handle this first contact situation. I want you to lead it. Her voice was firm. Find out what the Council isn't telling us. If they want our help, they'll need to accept us as we are. Alan looked out his window at the night sky. Somewhere up there, fragile aliens were waiting for an answer. Little did they know, humans had never been good at taking no for an answer. If they couldn't join the stars the Council's way, they'd find another. I accept the assignment, Madam Secretary, he said, and I think I know where to start. 6 weeks after the aliens landed, Commander Alan Wright walked through the new Human Council Joint Research Center built near Houston. The large building had two completely different environments inside. One side was for humans, with normal, Earth air and gravity. The other side was for the Council aliens with lower gravity, thinner air, and dimmer lights. Between them was a meeting area where both species could work together comfortably. Alan entered the meeting room where Dr. Samantha Lee waited with her team of scientists. On the other side of a clear barrier sat 3 Council aliens, including Ambassador Zorith. They looked more comfortable now in their special environment. Commander Wright, said Zorith through the translator, we are concerned. Your leaders have not yet agreed to our terms. That's why I'm here, said Alan. We need more information before we can make such an important decision. Dr. Lee has discovered something interesting in your transmissions. Samantha stepped forward and displayed some images on the large screen. They showed strange metal objects swarming around a planet. These aren't Council ships, she said. What are they? The aliens looked at each other, their blue skin changing to a darker shade, a sign of stress, Alan had learned. Zorith spoke slowly. Those are the reason we came to Earth despite our fears. They are called the Ravagers. What are they? Another alien species? Asked Alan. No, said Zorith. They are machines. Very old machines left over from a war fought millions of years ago by a species now extinct. They were dormant in the outer reaches of the galaxy for eons. About 5 of your Earth years ago, something woke them up. Samantha changed the display to show more images. Planets with huge sections missing, like someone had taken bites out of them. The Ravagers consume everything, continued Zorith. They break down matter and use it to make more of themselves. They have destroyed 17 Council worlds so far. Alan looked at the images closely. And you can't stop them? For a long moment the room was silent. Then Zorith spoke, her voice sounding tired even through the mechanical translator. No, we cannot. The Council has existed for thousands of years in peace. Our weapons are designed for police actions, not war. Our ships are built for comfort, not battle. And our bodies, she gestured at herself. We evolved on gentle worlds. We cannot endure the physical stress of combat against these machines. So, that's why you came to the Deathworlders, said Samantha, understanding now. You need soldiers. Zorith's large eyes blinked slowly. Yes, but the Council would never admit this publicly. Many still fear that introducing a Deathworld species into the galactic community would bring more problems than solutions. Alan crossed his arms. So you asked us to change ourselves first, to become weaker, like you. It was a compromise, said another alien named Kelvor. Many council members wanted no contact with Earth at all. They preferred to lose more worlds than risk bringing humans into space. Alan shook his head, disappointed. You should have been honest from the start. Over. The next few days, Alan and Samantha received permission to see more council data about the Ravager threat. They learned that council ships were beautiful but fragile. Council weapons were precise but not powerful. And council aliens simply could not handle the physical strain of battle. In a private meeting with President Franklin, Alan presented his findings. They need us, Mr. President, not as weakened versions of ourselves, but as we are, strong, tough, adaptable. The President looked thoughtful. Can we help them without their genetic modifications? I believe so, said Alan. My team has been studying their technology. We think we can combine their advanced science with our human durability, their ships with our strength. And what do you propose? Asked the President. Operation Human Shield, said Alan. We take a small team of volunteers in a modified council ship to help defend their next target. We show them what humans can do. 2 weeks later, Alan stood on the bridge of a new kind of spaceship. It looked like a council vessel from the outside, but inside, it had been reinforced for human use. The ship was called EDF Horizon, Earth Defense Fleet's first real starship. All systems ready, Commander, said Lieutenant Kelly Franklin from her control station. She was one of 20 humans chosen for this mission. Engineering reports all green, added Lieutenant Joe Garcia. The council tech works well with our modifications. Alan nodded and took his command chair. Through the view screen, he could see Ambassador Zorith in the space station's control room watching them. She still looked worried. Ambassador, Alan said over the communication link. We're ready to depart. Commander Wright, Zorith replied. The Council still has not officially approved this mission. I cannot guarantee your safety or your welcome when you reach the Arcturus system. Alan smiled. We're not going for a welcome, Ambassador. We're going to save lives. The Horizon lifted smoothly from the dock and accelerated toward the edge of the solar system. There, according to Zorith's instructions, they would find a jump gate, a council device that allowed faster-than-light travel. As they approached the jump gate, Dr. Olivia Martinez, the ship's medical officer, came to stand beside Alan. The CU crew is excited, she said. Nervous but ready. No one has ever left our solar system before. Alan nodded. We're making history, and hopefully saving some lives. The jump gate activated, creating a swirling blue tunnel in space ahead of them. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. All hands prepare for jump, Alan announced over the ship's speakers. We're about to show the galaxy what Deathworlders can do. Lieutenant Franklin counted down. Jump in 3, 2, 1. The Horizon entered the blue tunnel. For a moment, everything seemed to stretch and compress at once. Then they were through, emerging into a new star system light years from Earth. Ahead of them lay a beautiful blue-green planet, but approaching it was a dark cloud. Thousands of Ravager machines moving like a hungry swarm toward their prey. And between the Ravagers and the planet were a handful of council ships, desperately trying to evacuate civilians. They were being picked off one by one. Battle stations, ordered Alan, his voice calm despite the chaos ahead. Lieutenant Garcia, ready weapons. Lieutenant Franklin, take us in. Time to show the Council what humans from Earth can really do. The EDF Horizon raced toward the battle. On the main screen, Alan could see council ships trying to escape. They moved slowly and their weapons seemed to do little against the Ravager machines. The machines looked like metal insects, each one about the size of a car. They swarmed around the council ships, cutting into their hulls with laser beams. "Scan those Ravagers," Alan ordered. "I want to know what we're facing." Lieutenant Garcia worked his controls quickly. They appear to be made of some kind of self-healing metal. They have basic artificial intelligence, not very smart individually, but they work together well. Their weapons are simple but effective. "Their weakness?" asked Alan. "They need to get close to do damage," said Garcia. "And they don't seem to have strong shields." Alan nodded. "Then we keep them away from us and hit them hard. Lieutenant Franklin, take us between those machines and the evacuation ships." The Horizon moved quickly, much faster than the council ships. As they approached, a voice came over the communication system. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself immediately." It was a council ship captain, his translator making his voice sound strange with fear. "This is Commander Alan Wright of the Earth Defense Fleet vessel Horizon. We're here to help." There was a pause. "Earth? You mean the Deathworld? What are you doing here?" "Saving your people," Alan replied simply. "Keep your evacuation going. We'll hold off the Ravagers." Before the council captain could argue, Alan cut the communication. "Lieutenant Garcia, ready? The mass drivers." Earth engineers had studied council weapon systems and found them too gentle. They worked by pushing targets away or disabling them with electric pulses. Effective against living opponents, but useless against machines that didn't care about pain. So the humans had installed their own weapons, mass drivers that fired solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. "Mass drivers ready, sir," reported Garcia. "Fire when they come into range." The Ravagers noticed the horizon and changed course, moving toward this new target. They didn't seem to recognize it as a different kind of ship. "They're in range," said Garcia. "Fire." The horizon shook slightly as the mass drivers fired. Streaks of metal shot across space, smashing into the Ravager machines. Unlike the council weapons, these didn't try to push or stun, they simply destroyed what they hit. Dozens of Ravagers exploded into pieces. The rest hesitated as if confused by this new threat. "They're regrouping," said Franklin, "changing their attack pattern." The remaining Ravagers spread out, trying to surround the human ship. Alan smiled. They were learning, but not fast enough. "Activate the shield generators," he ordered. This was another human addition to the council ship design. Council shields were designed to deflect small objects or radiation. The human engineers had modified them to create a solid energy barrier around the ship. The Ravagers fired their cutting beams at the horizon, but the beams scattered against the powerful shields. "Shield holding at 92%, reported Franklin. "Return fire. Don't let them adapt to our defenses." For the next hour, the horizon fought the Ravager swarm, protecting the fleeing council ships. The human crew worked smoothly despite the stress of combat. What the council aliens didn't understand was that humans were built for this kind of pressure. Their bodies produced adrenaline. Their hearts pumped harder. Their minds focused more clearly in danger. The council evacuation ships continued to escape while the horizon kept the Ravagers busy. On the emergency channel, Alan could hear the confused and grateful voices of council ship captains. "The Deathworlders are helping us? How can their ship take so much damage? They just destroyed 50 Ravagers in one attack run." "Ambassador." Zorth's voice joined the channel. "Commander Wright, your actions are not authorized by the council." Alan almost laughed. "Ambassador, we can discuss permissions after we save your people." The battle continued. The horizon's shields began to weaken under the constant attacks. The hull temperature rose as energy weapons struck the ship, but the human crew remained calm, making repairs and adjustments even as the ship shook around them. In the medical bay, Dr. Olivia Martinez treated injured crew members. Burns, broken bones, concussions, injuries that would have killed council aliens. She checked her medical scanner and shook her head in amazement. "According to council medical data, we should all be dead from radiation exposure alone," she told a wounded engineer as she treated his burns. "Their safety limits are set for their biology, not ours." The engineer grinned despite his pain. "Good thing we're just tough Deathworlders, right?" After 6 hours of continuous battle, the last evacuation ship jumped to safety. The horizon's Shields were down to 15%, hull breaches had been reported on 3 decks, and half the crew had injuries of some kind. But they were still fighting. "All civilian ships are clear, Commander," reported Franklin, her face streaked with sweat and blood from a cut on her forehead. Alan nodded. "Then it's time for us to leave too. Get us to the jump gate." The Horizon turned and accelerated away from the remaining Ravagers. Some followed, but most stayed behind to consume the abandoned planet. The human ship limped to the jump gate, its engines struggling to maintain power. As they approached the gate, Alan opened a channel to all Council ships in the area. "This is Commander Wright of the EDF Horizon. We have successfully protected your evacuation. Remember what you saw here today. Humanity doesn't need to be changed to help you. We are strongest as we are." The Horizon jumped back to Earth space, its hull scarred and systems failing. When they docked at the space station, medical teams rushed to help the injured crew. Alan walked slowly down the ramp, tired but proud of what they had accomplished. Ambassador Zorith waited for him, surrounded by other Council representatives. Their large eyes showed mixed emotions: relief, gratitude, but also lingering fear. "You saved over 2,000 Council citizens today," said Zorith, "but you violated numerous Council protocols. Your ship modifications were not approved. Your weapons were not sanctioned." Alan looked at her steadily. "And yet, we succeeded where your approved ships and sanctioned weapons failed. The Council will need to reconsider many things," admitted Zorith, "including our approach to Earth." Alan nodded. "Send all our combat data to Earth. I want every human ship retrofitted with these defenses within the month. The Ravagers won't stop with one victory or one defeat." "What are you planning, Commander?" asked Zorith. Alan looked back at his battered ship and exhausted crew. Then he turned to face the future. "We're planning to save the galaxy, Ambassador, whether the Council is ready for us or not." 1 year had passed since the battle at Arcturus. Earth had changed in ways few could have imagined. Huge factories now built ships and weapons designed by human engineers using Council technology. Space stations orbited Earth where humans trained for missions against the Ravagers. And Commander Alan Wright was now Admiral Wright, leader of the newly formed Deathworld Corps. In his office aboard Earth Space Station Unity, Alan reviewed mission reports from human teams fighting across the galaxy. On his wall hung a map showing Ravager territory in red and Council worlds in blue. Green dots marked successful human defense operations. There were many green dots now. A knock came at his door. Dr. Samantha Lee entered, now the chief scientist, of the Human Council Defense Initiative. "The Council representatives have arrived for the meeting," she said. "They seem nervous." Alan smiled slightly. "They're always nervous around us, but less so than before." They walked together to the station's main conference room. Inside waited Ambassador Zorith and 5 other Council aliens. They wore their protective suits, but the helmets were off now, a small sign of growing trust. "Admiral Wright," said Zorith, nodding in greeting. "Dr. Lee, thank you for meeting with us." "Of course," said Alan. "How can we help the Council today?" Zorith touched a control, and a holographic map appeared over the table. It showed a star system Alan didn't recognize. "This is Gliese 832, said Zorith. "A mining colony that produces materials vital to Council technology. Our sensors detected Ravager activity there 3 days ago. We need your help." Alan studied the map. "What's special about this system? You don't usually ask for my personal attention." The aliens looked at each other. One of them, a Council military officer named Telmar, spoke up. "The environment there is especially harsh. The mining operations take place on a moon with extreme temperature shifts, toxic atmosphere, and radiation levels that would kill most Council species in minutes. But not humans," said Samantha, understanding. "Exactly," said Zorith. "We need Deathworlders for this mission." 3 days later, Staff Sergeant Nancy Wilson led her squad through the dark tunnels of the mining moon. Each human wore a specialized combat suit, but they were much lighter than what Council aliens would have needed. Nancy's team moved quickly and quietly, following the signals from their scanners. "Reading Ravager activity ahead," whispered Corporal Paul Rodriguez, checking his scanner. "Looks like they've reached the main ore processing center." Nancy nodded. "Remember, these tunnels make perfect traps. Use them to our advantage." Her team consisted of 6 humans, each carrying weapons that combined Council energy technology with human practical design. They called them thunder guns. They made a lot of noise, but they also destroyed Ravagers very effectively. "Council engineers still don't understand how we tolerate these conditions," muttered Paul as they descended deeper. The air in the tunnels was hot and filled with dust. Even through their protective gear, they could feel the radiation. "They evolved on Paradise Worlds," replied Nancy. "We evolved on Earth, where everything was trying to kill us. Different starting points." They stopped at a junction of several tunnels. Nancy held up her hand and everyone froze. Ahead they could hear the metallic scraping sounds of Ravager machines harvesting ore. Johnson, Blake, "Set charges in tunnels 2 and 3. Carter, Singh, with me on the main approach. Rodriguez, high position, cover fire." The team split up smoothly. This wasn't their first mission together. Nancy led her group forward until they could see the Ravagers. About 20 of the machine creatures were cutting into the walls of a large cave, extracting valuable minerals. Nancy clicked her comm twice, the signal to get ready. Then she fired the first shot. Her thunder gun sent a blast of energy into the nearest Ravager, melting it instantly. The battle erupted quickly. The humans fired with deadly accuracy while the Ravagers swarmed toward them. When half the machines were in the side tunnels, Nancy gave the order. "Now!" Johnson detonated the charges, collapsing the tunnels and crushing several Ravagers. The remaining machines tried to retreat, but there was nowhere to go. Within minutes, all the Ravagers were destroyed. "Area secure," reported Nancy into her comm. "No casualties." Back on the Council support ship in orbit, Captain Sharon Baker received the report with satisfaction. She turned to the Council observer, a nervous alien who had watched the operation from a safe distance. "Your mining operation is secure," she told him. "My teams have eliminated all Ravager presence on the moon." The alien blinked rapidly. "So quickly?" "Our simulations suggested this would take days and result in multiple casualties." Sharon smiled. "Your simulations didn't account for human adaptability or our experience with difficult environments." When the mission was complete, Sharon received a message from Earth. She gathered her team to share the news. "The Council is finally acknowledging our contributions," she informed them. "They've upgraded Earth's status from quarantined Deathworld to protected military asset." Nancy removed her helmet, revealing a face streaked with sweat and dust. "How generous of them. So we're their weapons now, not their monsters?" Sharon shrugged. "Progress comes slowly, but there's more. Admiral Wright is addressing the Galactic Council directly today, the first human ever invited to speak in their main chamber." Across the galaxy in the Grand Council Hall, Alan stood before thousands of alien representatives. The chamber had been specially reinforced to accommodate human biology, a small but significant concession. "The Ravager threat has been contained in 3 sectors," he reported, "but our intelligence suggests they're adapting. We need greater integration between human forces and Council technology." Ambassador Zorith, now the Council's military liaison, nodded reluctantly. "The Council has authorized expanded cooperation, Admiral, but many members remain concerned about increasing human influence." Alan's expression remained diplomatic. "Their concern is noted. Their survival is our priority." Later, in a private meeting room, Zorith spoke more openly. "You must understand, Admiral. For thousands of years, the Council believed that evolution on gentle worlds led to higher intelligence and civilization. Death worlds were seen as producing only violence and primitive thinking." "And now?" asked Alan. "Now we face an enemy that our gentle evolution did not prepare us for, one that your harsh world did prepare you for." Zorith looked uncomfortable. "It is difficult for many to accept that our fundamental beliefs might be wrong." Alan nodded. "Change is always difficult, but necessary for survival." As he prepared to return to Earth, Alan received a secured message from Dr. Samantha Lee. It contained only a few words, but they changed everything. Main Ravager control node located. Planning final operation. Alan stared at the message for a long time. The end of the war might be possible, but it would require sacrifices that only humans, only Deathworlders could make. 5 years had passed since the aliens first landed on Earth. In that time, humans had gone from an isolated species on a single planet to the defenders of an entire galaxy. The Deathworld Corps now had thousands of members and hundreds of ships, and Admiral Alan Wright had become one of the most respected and feared figures in Council space. Now he stood in the office of President Samantha Lee on the space station Unity. Dr. Lee had been elected president of Earth 2 years ago after her work on Council technology had helped turn the tide against the Ravagers. "The final strike," said Alan, looking at the holographic display between them. It showed a distant star system far from any Council worlds. "Are you sure about this location?" Samantha nodded. "All our data points to this system. The Ravager's main control node is there, hidden in an asteroid field near a red dwarf star. Our science teams have been tracking their communication patterns for months." "The Council wants us to wait," said Alan. "They say we need more time to prepare." "The Council always wants to wait," replied Samantha with a slight smile. "Caution is their way. Action is ours." Alan studied the plan again. It would require sending the EDF Horizon, now upgraded with the best human and Council technology, into the heart of Ravager territory. The mission would be dangerous, perhaps even suicide. "The crew is ready," he said finally. "I've selected our best people. The Council's strategic AI gives the mission a 32% chance of success," Samantha said. Alan smiled. "Those are better odds than humanity has faced before." 2 days later, Alan addressed the crew of the Horizon. 100 humans stood before him, each a veteran of multiple battles against the Ravagers. They wore the uniform of the Deathworld Corps, black with Earth's outline in green on the shoulder. "This mission is voluntary," Alan told them. "The dangers are extreme. We will be traveling deeper into Ravager territory than any ship has gone before. Our goal is to destroy their central control node. If we succeed, the Ravager threat ends. If we fail—" "We won't fail, Admiral," said Lieutenant Kelly Franklin, now the Horizon's captain. She had been with Alan since that first mission years ago. The crew nodded in agreement. None of them stepped back or asked to leave. Alan felt pride swell in his chest. "Then prepare for departure. We leave in 6 hours." As the crew dispersed, Ambassador Zorith approached Alan. Over the years, the alien diplomat had become something like a friend. She still wore a protective suit on Unity Station, but seemed more comfortable around humans now. "The Council sends their best wishes for your mission, Admiral," she said, "though many still think this plan is too risky." "The Council has been saying that about humans for 5 years," replied Alan. "Yet here we are, still saving them." Zorith's large eyes blinked slowly, a sign of amusement Alan had learned to recognize. "Yes, perhaps that is why they are still pushing for genetic modifications as a condition for full membership after this crisis ends." Alan looked out at the stars visible through the station's large windows. "Some things aren't negotiable, Ambassador. We won't change what we are." "I know," said Zorith softly, "and between us I no longer think you should." 6 hours later, the Horizon departed Earth space. It traveled through a series of jump gates, moving deeper into the galaxy. At each jump, Council stations tracked their progress. Some sent messages of support. Others remained silent, still uncomfortable with human presence in their territory. After the final jump, the Horizon entered uncharted space. No Council ship had ever come this far into Ravager territory. The crew worked with quiet efficiency, scanning for threats and keeping the ship's systems running at peak performance. On the 5th day, they reached the target system. The red dwarf star glowed dimly ahead, surrounded by a thick belt of asteroids. "Scans show Ravager activity throughout the asteroid field," reported Lieutenant Garcia from his station. "Thousands of units, maybe tens of thousands." Alan nodded. "And the control node?" Located in the largest asteroid, said Garcia. Heavy defenses, around it. Alan studied the tactical display. We can't fight them all. We need to create a diversion, then make a run for the main target. The battle plan was simple but dangerous. Part of the crew would take shuttlecraft to draw away the Ravager defenders. Meanwhile, the Horizon would push through to the control node with a special weapon developed by Earth scientists, a quantum disruptor designed to destroy the Ravager central intelligence. As the crew prepared for battle, Alan recorded a final message to be sent back to Earth if they succeeded, or if they didn't return. We came to the stars not as conquerors or as servants, he said into the recorder. We came as humans, bringing with us all the strength and determination that our difficult world gave us. Whatever happens today, remember that humanity's place in the galaxy should never require us to be less than what we are. The battle began with explosive charges set by human teams on the outer asteroids. As Ravager machines swarmed toward the explosions, the Horizon powered up its engines and raced toward the center of the field. Ravagers quickly noticed the larger ship and moved to intercept. The Horizon's weapons blazed, destroying dozens of machines with each volley, but there were so many and the ship could not stop to fight them all. Hull breach on Deck 3, called out an officer as the ship shuddered under enemy fire. Seal it and keep going, ordered Alan. All power to forward shields. The Horizon pushed deeper into the asteroid field, taking damage but continuing forward. The target asteroid grew larger on the view screen, a massive rock 10 miles across, swarming with Ravager machines. When they were close enough, Alan gave the final order. Launch the disruptor. The ship shook as the special weapon launched toward the asteroid. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a wave of energy pulsed outward from the impact point. Throughout the asteroid field, Ravager machines suddenly stopped moving. Some collided with each other or with asteroids. Others simply drifted, their control signals gone. It worked, said Lieutenant Franklin, her voice filled with wonder. The control node is destroyed. The journey back to Council space was difficult. The Horizon had taken heavy damage, and 3 crew members had been lost in the battle. But as they approached the first Council outpost, they received a hero's welcome. Ships lined their path, lights blinking in the alien equivalent of applause. At Unity Station, President Lee was waiting when Alan stepped off the ship. The Council has called an emergency session, she told him. They want you to speak. Hours later, Alan stood once again in the Council hall. But this time, the alien representatives were not fearful or suspicious. They stood as he entered, a sign of respect rarely given to anyone. The Ravager threat is ended, Alan told them. Humanity is proud to have helped defend the galaxy we all share. As the Council members cheered, Alan sent a message to be displayed on the hall's main screen, the same message he had written before the final battle. Dear Galactic Council, you asked us to change who we are, to become less than what evolution on our death world made us. Instead, we showed you what humanity truly offers the galaxy, not just our strength, but our stubborn refusal to accept no-win scenarios. You're welcome. Sincerely, the Deathworlder. In the following days, the Council signed a new galactic charter, one that classified Earth not as a death world, but as the birthplace of the galaxy's guardians. No more talk of genetic modifications or quarantines. Humanity had earned its place among the stars just as they were. As Alan looked out at the galaxy from Unity Station, Ambassador Zorith joined him. What will humanity do now? She asked. Now that the war is over? Alan smiled. Explore. Learn. Build, protect, the same things we've always done, just on a larger scale. Across the galaxy, on council worlds everywhere, children learned about the strange, strong beings who had come from a world that most species would find deadly. They did not learn to fear Deathworlders, but to appreciate how diversity, even difficult diversity, made the galaxy stronger. After all, one civilization's death world was another's cradle of strength.